Hey everybody, it's day 25 of my AMA video series in support of my 40th birthday fundraiser for the Norwegian Refugee Council. So far we've raised $3,300 and my goal is $5,000, meaning in the next 6 days I need to raise more money. Now, I promised to match the first 1,000 that came in, and I will do that, which will bump us over the target, but I still need your help to reach that number. So if you want to either give me a birthday present for my 40th birthday, or better yet, donate to an incredibly important cause to help refugees and displaced people all over the world, go to the URI on the screen, morton.com/mortonisanold, click on the donate to the NRC button and give your donation there. And then you'll help me reach my goal and the NRC help people all over the world. All right, now for today's question, since I didn't record a video yesterday due to technical problems and a bunch of other things, I'm gonna give a longer answer to a more complex question today. It comes from Kirk, and it is, sorry. How do you draw project requirements out of a client? Often, I seem to be receiving vague requests, and after some clarification and back and forth, I produce something that I think fits the client's desires, but turns out it's totally off. I know that back and forth is part of the job, but are there any tips that may help establish some more accurate baselines? Well, Kirk, this is a really complex problem that we face all the time in any kind of design environment. You have a client who has very specific goals and needs and often ideas about what they want. And then when you try to match those goals and ideas, you often end up with something they didn't want or something that somehow is just not right. Not enough cats. What is it they say in that movie? More intensity. Like you have these bizarre conversations with a client where you can't quite figure out what it is they want. All you know is that they don't want what you gave them. So in my experience, a lot of this has to do with a lack of proper communication between the two parties. So let me give you an analogy. Let's say you are going to install a new sink in your house. I can say this because I've done this in the past. So you have an idea. You're like, I want the sink here, and it's going to be hooked up to all the plumbing and everything and work so that water comes out and drains away and I don't get water all over my apartment and everything else, right? So you go to the plumber and you say, hey, I want a kitchen sink here, and I want this kind of faucet and this kind of sink, and I want this kind of water, and then the plumber might say, no, but I can put a sink over here instead and it'll work differently from what you think, but there are reasons why I need to do it like this. And then you say, sure, that's fine. Or you say, here's endless money. Can you make it work the other way? And then they have to like tear up the entire apartment or your house and cut new lines and do everything else. The point is, when you talk to a plumber and the plumber tells you, no, you can't do what you want to do, chances are you're going to say, okay, and move on. When it comes to design, it should be like that, but it's not. And the reason is people feel like they understand design and people feel like they have ideas that are good about design. Now, I'm not saying people don't have good ideas about design or understand design. What I'm saying is you as a designer, especially a web designer or a print designer or anything that has to do with communication, your job is not just to make what your client wants. Your job is to make what your client needs. And those two things can often be quite different because you are the expert when it comes to using whatever medium you work in for communication. Your client is not. So your client will often have a specific idea about either duplicating something someone else has already done, or make something that looks a certain way to match whatever branding they have, or just do something like make a blob or make a site or make an app or whatever, because that's what everyone is doing right now. Your job when you meet the client is to figure out what it is they're trying to achieve by doing this design project. So instead of saying we need a website, the question is, why do you need a website? As in, how will having this website help your business? And the way to figure that out is by asking, what is it the end user, so your client's client, gets out of interacting with whatever it is you're going to build, right? So, because the whole point of point of pretty much any design project is to create a communication between the end user, so your client's client, and your client in such a way that communication happens, trust is established, and then the end user purchases whatever product they're selling or signs up for whatever event they're promoting or does whatever it is your client wants to do. To get that to happen, you need to understand all the stakeholders involved. That would be your client and their clients and anyone else involved, and figure out what their goals and needs are and how best to meet them using whatever medium you're designing for. Once you've established that understanding, the design process can start. So that means your design process does not start in Photoshop or even on paper. It starts with research, going out and talking to human beings, understanding where it is they are, what they're trying to do, what they're afraid of, what they are looking for, what they consider to be meeting their goals, and what they consider to be failing at meeting their goals, and all these other things. And then take that into figuring out what the communication has to be to make all this work. Then you can start wireframing and user testing and prototyping and doing all that other stuff. And once you get to a point where the end user can sit there and play around with your paper prototype and say, I now achieve my goal when I came to this weird thing that you just built, then you can start the design process. Now, this is a very different design process from what your client probably expects, but this is the right way to do things. Start with research, understand the people involved, figure out their goals and needs and how to meet them, facilitate communication, and then build a design around that actually makes that look good and work properly and everything else. Okay? That's the answer for today. Now, like I said, there are 6 days left of this AMA video series, meaning you still have a chance to ask me a question and I still have time to answer it. If you want to ask me a question for this video series, go to the URL on the screen, morten.com/mortenisanold, and click on the Ask a Question button. If you want to contribute to my fundraiser for the Norwegian Refugee Council, I'd much appreciate it. If you want to do that, go to the same URL, click on Donate to the NRC, and donate your money. And if you want to know what the NRC are doing and how they're helping people all over the world, check out NRC's Twitter handle, NRC_Norway, or just go to nrc.no and check out all their work. All right? I will see you tomorrow.